I was
You're
big
good.
and
You're live.
good. I had a big picture. Now I've got a little picture. I put myself in a little box and I don't know how to get out of it. Good morning, everybody. I'm in a little box. I hate being in a box. I don't know how to make this picture bigger, Al. Can you help me out here? Don't know what I did. Anyway, it'll do. It'll work. It's fine. Can you see me in a little box, Al, or do I look just perfectly ordinary?
You're good. You're good. Just
Okay.
on the screen.
All right. Um, so, uh, so good morning, everyone. We do not have Carolyn with us today. She's packing and moving and doing all those things. But I do have someone on my sofa with me this morning. If he's going to get up, if he's going to wake up, cachorro. No, not a sound, not a sigh. He's just lying there enjoying just being a dog. So we have Cachorro on the sofa with us, and we have Al. Say good morning, Al.
Good morning, everyone.
And of course, we do have always Grey Eagle, who is standing to my right side here. And we're going to see if we can answer as many questions as you have. I'm hoping that there are people there. Al, can you see? Is there anybody there? It's like this such a common thing, you know, when you're in a seance and you say, is there anybody there? Is there anybody there?
There are a few people popping in, yes.
Good, good. All right. And but we don't have questions yet, do we?
We do. We do actually have a couple questions already.
Well, let's go with that then, and then I'll tell a little story or two, and we'll see how we go from there then. Now, why don't we do that?
Sounds good. So Azul asks.
Good morning, Azul.
Yes. Do you use music when healing? If so, do you like a specific frequency?
Oh, what a good, Azul. I love this question. Actually, we do actually use music. And just something that is, you know, you can get anything at all you like. But I will tell you what I did years ago with my first healing. There were tapes in those days, not CDs, not discs, but tapes. I had a patient. Her name was Wendy, and a gorgeous woman. And I tell the story of Wendy in one of my books. Unfortunately, I don't remember which one now, but I tell the story of Wendy. And Wendy had cancer, and she'd had cancer for a lot of years. And she used to come to my healing center. And then when she became too ill to come to the center, I used to go to her house. And one day, and I used to go to her house perhaps 2 or 3 times a week just to check in on her and her family, because, you know, when we give healing, we don't just give it to the patient, we give it to the family as well, because everybody's stressed out and trying to deal with an awful situation. So I'd gotten to know this family pretty well. Well, this particular day, this particular morning, I'd gone to do a radio show. And then on from the radio show, I went on to visit Wendy. And her husband was telling me, you know, he said she could barely get out of bed. She felt so awful. And we knew you were going to be on this radio show. So we switched on the radio to listen to you. And just hearing your voice, it just made her feel much stronger and, you know, much happier. And the next thing I know, she's asking to get out of bed. And as you can see, Rosemary, here she is, and she's dressed and ready for the day, which, you know, I thought was lovely. Well, I went home and I thought about that. And I thought, if that's, you know, just hearing my voice on the radio is, you know, is beneficial to them, maybe I'll do something else. So I had it was a bit complicated because in those days you couldn't just flick a button. I'm making it sound as if I'm ancient. Maybe I am actually, but anyway. So I got a tape recorder, and with some I think it was Brahms, or it might have been Chopin, because I love Chopin's music, but some nice, soothing, gentle, easy music. And I sat with Grey Eagle, and I developed actually very quickly between us, we developed this incredible meditation. And so I got the tape recorder. I'd got one tape recorder playing the music. I'd got one tape recorder that I was talking into, and I got the meditation that I'd written down and that was inspired definitely from the spirit world and definitely from Grey Eagle. And so as the music was playing in the background, I spoke of this healing meditation. And that was the first ever healing meditation tape that I ever made. And you can still get that today in disc form, and we use that in our healing centers. We use that. I give those discs to my patients for them to play when they're on their own, because again, you've got the voice, but you've also got, you know, this beautiful soothing. We've since changed the music, by the way. I had somebody actually develop the music for me especially, and he did such a wonderful job and donated his time and his music, you know, for the sole purpose of being able to help people with their healing. So I think it's a very integral part of being able to help people to relax. In our healing centers, we always would play music. And then, of course, once I made the CD, then, you know, then we produced it. And, you know, first it was in tape form, then it came into CD form. And we used to play this just in the background, gently, very, you know, because we'd always have, in our healing centers, we'd have a room for beds and chairs. We usually had sort of 2 or 3 beds if people wanted to lie down. And we had chairs as well for patients who didn't want to lie down. And that room was always very calming, very soothing, a very quiet room, a very gentle room. And we always had music. And after I made the CD, we had our, it's called the CD itself is called Give the Gift of Healing. And we had that always playing in the background. Patients found it extremely soothing and extremely helpful in the process of relaxing. And then in the other part of the center, we had what we used to refer to as the tea room, because we'd make tea for the patients and they'd sit and we'd have cookies often, and, you know, they'd sit and chat to each other and so on and so forth. So it's sort of like a social area where people really got to know each other really, really well and would follow each other's progress. It was quite amazing, really. And, you know, we consider that to be an integral part of the healing as well, because talking to people, talking to your patients is also important. The most important thing is listening to your patients. And just before we go to the next question now, because now I'm on a roll here, I will mention that I had a lovely student many, many years ago. He was the most incredible healer. It was beautiful, natural healing hands, gorgeous healing hands. You know, people used to have to train with me for 3 years. And at the end of the 3 years, they would get a certificate saying that they had been fully trained. In England, you know, it was the law. You had to train and you had to have a certificate. And most healing classes, whatever, colleges or whatever, would have a 2-year training course, but in my group we always had a 3-year training course. I did ask my students at one time to make it to vote 2 years or 3 years, and they all voted for the 3 years because they know how important it is as much as I do. But I've forgotten where I was going with this, but I had this wonderful, wonderful guy, and he was a healer, and he'd been with me now 3.5 years. And he was getting very frustrated and very upset because he hadn't had his certificate yet. And I had to talk to him. He asked me, you know, why? You know, why aren't I getting my certificate? And I said, well, here is the problem. The problem is that there's no humility here. You know, you've got to learn humility. You have to not only, you know, be aware of your patients, you've got to listen to them too. You can't talk just about yourself and what happened to you and, you know, how you feel and how you think. It's all about the patient, and it's all about how, you know, the patient needs to listen, needs to pay attention. But you're the one who has to teach them how to do that. You've got to listen to them and encourage them to speak to you. I think actually we've lost Al. Al, have we lost you? I think we've lost you. So if we've lost Al, I know he's going to pop up. Keeping my fingers crossed, he's going to pop up any minute now. With with those summer storms and all the rest of it, it happens. So as also, yes, it is important, I think, for the patient to have music and to just enjoy being able to relax with a certain kind of music. And Al is back up with us just in time for our next question. Where did you go?
Can you hear me?
Where did you go off to?
My internet was not cooperating, so it dropped off.
Don't you hate it? It's those summer storms. Let's have another question, quick, before you disappear again.
Actually, as a follow-up to that, right? Can you speak to the kind of healing effect of sound? Because often you'll sing and you'll say that has a really kind of effect, like the healing effect on the soul itself, like of sound. Like you talked about your voice having that effect on the one patient in the beginning. Like, what does the sound actually do to the soul that it has that kind of healing effect?
Sound levels, it's all about vibration and vibrational level. When we're connecting with people in the spirit world, when I'm connecting, for instance, with, sorry, I don't mean to loom over, I've just put my water down there. When you're connecting with people in the spirit world, it's very, very important to get on the, that same wavelength. And I always tell my clients, because often I'm not looking at them, I'm looking at people in the spirit world rather than looking at my client. And I'll say, I want you to say yes or no. If you understand me, say yes. If you don't understand me, just say no, you don't. Don't be afraid to tell me if what you're thinking, what you think I'm saying is gobbledygook. Just tell me in a nice way, be respectful about it. But it's very important to respond. And I said, for number one, I'm looking more at those in the spirit world than I am at you. So if you're nodding your head, I'm not seeing you. But the most important thing is when you say yes, when your loved ones in the spirit world, when they hear you and they hear the sound of your voice, that voice vibration, it enables them. It's like a telephone. You've either got a good connection, as we just saw, a lousy connection. If you've got a lousy connection, then you need to speak. So that they can hear you and hear you clearly. And when they can hear you clearly, it's like the telephone connection or computer connection. You do this, you join together. And when you join together, there's much more energy. Well, the same thing happens with your own soul. When you're talking to your own soul, there is this point of connecting with your own soul. Now, I find, and I've always found this, with my voice, I do sing, and I sing all the time. I go around the house singing opera. I was singing whatever it was yesterday, loud and clear, and Karen walked in and she said, "Oh my God, this is..." I was singing and I was cooking at the same time, but I was actually singing the music from Phantom of the Opera. And of course, I didn't expect us to walk through the door, and I'm belting it out and having a great time with this. But I find that sound, voice, music of any kind, sound is integral to being able to connect, not just with your own soul, but with those souls in the spirit world as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. All right. So Nate asks, "Good morning, everyone."
Good morning,
his question is: singer Stevie Wonder an angel? And if not, can you name a few that most of us know that are angels? I guess popular people that might be angels.
You're talking about earth angels?
I think that's what he's talking
about. Tomas, of course, who we all met a few weeks ago, is an earth angel. You might. I don't know. Honestly, don't know if Stevie Wonder's an earth angel. Our Grey Eagle says no, so I'm going to go with that. I think earth angels are not too many around, and I don't really know unless I come across one, which is so rare. Maybe I'm thinking of 3 or 4, but none that you would know, because none of them have been well known. so if someone is angel-like, you know, we did the little book Angels in Training, and it gives you exercises of what to do so that we can, all of us, help our angels to help us and others. There are lots of things that we can do to help our angels, which is why I wrote Angels in Training, because I feel that, you know, we all can be angels in training. We can all help to help our angels to help others by doing, you know, just small things, kindnesses, being gentle, being kind, going to visit a neighbor who never has anyone to visit, and so on and so forth, all those things. So I think that, you know, many of us can be, if not 100% of the time, maybe 10% of the time or 20% of the time in our lives, we can be angel-like. We can do deeds that are angel-like. And they always help our angels, I think. Stevie Wonder is, I mean, he has the most incredible voice, beautiful, just a really lovely aura also. But I wouldn't say, I can't help you there. Sorry, I'm rambling now. I don't know any famous person. I'm trying to rack my brains to think. Off the top of my head, there's my puppy. I don't know if you can hear him having a pupping here. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a famous person that I would say would be an earth angel. Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Next question now.
So the untubed, which I think you referred to as Tubi in the past.
The what?
The untubed, who I think you referred to as Tubi in the past. I'm pretty sure, but this person asks.
Oh, Tubi. Tubi.
Yes, Tubi.
Good morning, Tubi. I don't know what you're talking about. Thinking, don't know what you're talking about. Oh, go ahead, Tubi. Good morning, Tubi.
They said they sing to. They talked about a doctor who healed cells with frequency of sounds.
Yes.
And then mentioned Anita Morjani said she was about to die from cancer. I don't know who this person is. She was told she can hear herself as she brought it on herself. She healed herself of lymphoma and lived. And her question is, do we make ourselves sick? And I guess, do we have the ability to heal ourselves?
Well, yes, we do. Often, you know, we either create an environment, or we eat foods that we shouldn't eat. I mean, of course, we make ourselves sick. I mean, the environment itself can often make many of us sick. But I do think that if this is a difficult one, because yes, we do have the ability to heal ourselves. We absolutely do, but not necessarily in a physical sense. Let me be clear about that. When we give healing, when I teach my students to give healing, to learn how to give healing, to use their energy, to use sound, to use the voice, of course, always, but to use their energy in a variety of ways. When we go to see a patient, for instance, if I'm invited to go to see someone who has cancer and is being given, let's say, 6 months to live, can that person heal themselves? Yes. Can we heal them? Yes. Now, people say to me all the time, what is your rate of success? And I say that my rate of success is 100%. That sounds an incredible statement, but be careful. I'm not saying that we have 100% success rate on a physical level, because when we go to heal a patient, first and foremost, before anything else at all, a healer is focused on healing the soul, bringing light, bringing healing, bringing joy to the soul of that person. Now, sometimes when we're able to bring light and joy to the soul, and we're able to bring good energy to the soul and to heal the soul, sometimes then the soul is healed, becomes lighter, brighter, the energy within you becomes brighter, and is able to then, disperse with the tumor, to get rid of whatever's going on with you, or to heal the heart murmur, or what have you. And very often, you know, that healing of the soul, that powerful healing of the soul, and the light that comes within us when our soul is healed, can heal. Then that light will emanate out into the body and heal whatever else is going on. But sometimes it's too late. Sometimes the body is too ravaged. But nevertheless, when we go into a house, when my team and I go into a house or a hospital or anywhere where people need healing, the first thing that other people will say, nurses especially, visiting nurses will say, you can always tell when you walk into the home of someone who's having healing, spiritual healing, because there is a sense of peace and calm and tranquility in that house that you don't get when you walk into the home of someone who isn't having healing. Oh, I've got the, see, it's a live show. Al, can you keep people talking? Because you know what this is, don't you? This is my book. Go. Keep people talking, would you?
Okay.
Back.
So let's continue with the questions. We have a couple good questions on sound related. So this is a neat theme that is going through.
Oh.
And Rosemary, I think, is back shortly.
I'm here. Sorry, go ahead. Yes, it's the book. It didn't even need signing for. We've got a very odd, probably very lovely mailman here. I'm just getting this out. He's talking to me. Go ahead. What were you talking about, Al?
So we have a lot of questions or comments on sound. Pamela has a comment on sound in general.
Go ahead.
So Pamela has a comment. Sometimes when I'm feeling down and out of energy, I listen to Freddie Mercury when he was alive in the band's Queen lead singer, very uplifting. And I think that speaks to certain sounds and songs resonate differently.
Well, I'm just thinking back to when my daughter was a baby, first of all, and then I'm thinking back to when Reese was a baby, and Samantha's neighbour sometimes would say to Samantha, "So your mother's singing opera again, is she?" Because I would hold that child in my arms and sing to him. And we know that when you're talking softly to a child, or when you're singing to a child, even if you can't sing, even if you're tone deaf, it is not just that you're singing, it's the type of energy that you're using when you're singing to a child can be very healing to the child. And you can, there are these people who can take hold of a baby, the squealing, scrawling baby, and, screaming at the top of its lungs, and a person can just hold it and the child quietens in its arms. But when you're singing or humming or rocking and singing and humming, when you're using that energy with the child, with the baby, it has an incredible and a wonderful effect, really wonderful effect. So sound is very, very important. And sound, and unfortunately, this is why, I'll often say to people, could you take the earphones out of the, stop, it's all very well. All this wonderful technology is all very well and good. But when do we stop listening to the earth around us? When did we stop listening to other people? When did we stop having lunch with someone and we're on the phone, or we're texting or whatever? When did that happen, that we're not listening, not just with our ears, but with every one of our 5 senses, and with our heart and with our soul? When do we stop doing that? And, it's so frustrating to me, because, my own daughter is guilty of it as much as anybody. It's the way of life today, but isn't it a shame, because we're missing out on, on the sounds that are natural sounds, nature sounds, other people's voices, other people's conversations. You know, I have a friend of mine whose, you know, daughter will walk in the door and she's texting, I'm sorry, but, you know, I go just, yeah, but I'm listening to you. Yeah. No, you're not. So, you know, we should take at least an hour or two out of our day to just put down all the computer stuff. And please don't put me down. Don't put me down now. Don't switch off YouTube now. But, you know, we should have at least a couple of hours in the day when we're listening, we're paying attention. Go for a walk in the park, sit quietly and listen to the best music that you can, you know, that you love. I love Chopin's piano music. It's one of my favorites to listen to. There's nothing finer than sort of listening, tuning into the music, because the music helps for you to tune into your own soul, and it also helps you tune into what is around you. But don't have the music so loud that you can't hear, sense, see, feel, be aware of everything else that is there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you know, as you were talking about it, I was reminded of number one, like how it's almost what you said at the end. It's almost like training yourself, because we'll often hear people, how do I tune more into the sixth sense? How do I, you know, get more in touch with the spirit world? How do I do that? And
well, one of the I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
Sorry. Are you finished?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say that we have a course which, if we can ever get this sorted out, it's the money part of it. It's how to do the register. If anybody out there knows how we register and do registrations and all of that stuff, could you just let me know? Because that way we can get on with this, because all the lessons are there and already we're ready to go. It's just we want to do it in a way that safeguards the students and make sure that nobody's paying more than they should. That, you know, people who are not paying can't just drop in when they feel like it, all that sort of thing. So there's all that stuff to do. But we really are going to have online classes, and part of those online classes are talking about the sixth sense. People ask me all the time, well, what is the sixth sense? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what the sixth sense is. The sixth senses are 5 common senses, all becoming more attuned, more tuned to outside forces, to those outside influences. We need to develop the sense of taste. Why would you say do we need to, you know, why? You know, what's that have to do with anything? It has everything to do with everything. The sense of taste, the sense of touch, the sense of hearing, sight, and there's another one, I can't think what it is. Anyway, can you think what it is? I missed one, but hearing maybe. But anyway, our 5 common senses. Now, some of you might say, well, what if you're blind, or what if you're deaf? Well, we all know that a man who is blind can often see way better than any of us, because his sense of sight our sense of sight doesn't necessarily come from our eyes. It comes from within us. So how to tune in and to develop those 5 senses. And once those 5 senses are perfectly tuned and in tune with each other, this is when the sixth sense is simply all those 5 senses combined and exploding together, which create that sixth sense. So we need to learn how to listen better, more clearly, how to listen, not just with our ears, but with our, you know, with everything about us. People sometimes say to me, how do you hear, when you hear the spirit world, how do you hear them? Do you hear them with your voice, or how do you hear them? Well, sometimes with their voice, sorry. Sometimes I hear them through my ear. Sometimes, you know when you're at home with the kids and somebody's shouting, you're not just hearing them with your ears, you're hearing them with every part of you, because, you know, something kicks in, especially with your kids, something kicks in. You're not just listening here, you're listening with every part of you. So we need to learn how to enhance and to develop all of those 5 senses that we have, so that our sixth sense then can kick in and become more and more attuned. Well, we're not going to do that if we're on a computer all day or listening to music and having earplugs in all day, every day. I mean, you see people walking down the street, they've got their earplugs in and they're either listening to music or they're listening to whatever it is. It's on someone on the phone. Nobody even looks up to see, hello, world, hello, everybody. You know, people, and especially the youngsters, we've stopped paying attention. And if we carry on with that, we don't pay more attention. Eventually, we're going to lose the use of that. Lose the use of that sixth sense. Many people already have. Certainly, it's not nearly as strong as it used to be. But you know, we have to put down the technology at least a couple of hours in every day. Would you agree, Al?
I would agree. Yes. I'm reminded of A Day Without Time, one of those lessons.
Oh, yeah. That's a good, listen, everybody, if you want to have a good experience, yes. Was it hard, Al? It was hard.
Really challenging, but well worth it. I talk about it with people all the time.
This is one of my lessons for my students. You've got to have a day without time. And that means no clocks, no looking at the clock. You decide the day before that tomorrow is going to be a day without time. And you do whatever you do. You eat whenever you're hungry. You listen to your body. You listen to your inner self. You listen to your senses and your sensibility. You know, I mean, we can tell by the sun if it's day or night. We can tell by, you know, the way the sun's going over. If it's a cloudy day, too bad for you. You won't be able to tell as much. But a day without time, never looking at a watch, never asking someone what the time is, which means never actually switching on your phone, because every time you first put your phone on, it tells you the time, doesn't it? So it means without any technology to tell you what the time is, a day without time. And my suggestion would be do it at a weekend where you can go for a picnic, or you can go to the beach, or you can go somewhere fun and what have you, and just be you with your family, and nobody says what time is it, or if you do, you say, I don't know. What was your experience with a day without time, Al?
Uncomfortable at first.
Yeah. Because you're so used to it, right?
Yeah, and you don't. I think at first I didn't realize how much I checked the time, how much I checked devices, how much I was kind of constantly doing that.
Yeah.
But then once you get past that threshold of, all right, I want to do it, but now I know I can't do it if I want to really do this, exercise. You realize things like you were talking about, walking down the street, looking outside. You heard more sounds. You noticed where the sun was in the sky throughout the day. You paid attention to
the world that you're living in.
Yeah, to our environment. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. If you can do it, and I encourage everyone to do it, it's great, because at some point in the day you realize, who cares what time it is? The most important thing about time is that we use it well, that we use it wisely. It's not about, is it 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock? It's about, I'm going to have the time of my life. I'm going to enjoy this moment, however long this moment lasts. You're not limiting yourself. If you want to sit and meditate all day long, and you're not even pay attention to anything else that you should be doing, or that the clock tells you should be doing, whatever it is you want to do with your day, go enjoy it. Go enjoy it with people who love you, and tell them there's no time today. Nobody wears a watch. Nobody brings a phone. Nobody. And you can watch movies all day if you like. A day without time is fantastic, although it's cheating a bit to watch movies, because we know that usually a movie lasts for an hour and a half, probably 2 hours max. So you can gauge the time from that, and that's a naughty thing to do. So you can't cheat. I've got something to show you guys. It just came in the mail. I have to read it over the weekend, and if there are no more mistakes, I can already see there are some here. If there are no more mistakes, we can put it out. Look at that. Do you like that? Do you like the look of that? I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that?
You can, yeah.
There. A walk in the clouds. That's my feather symbol. All right. So let's have another question, shall we, Al?
Terry asks, is a high-pitched sound in your ear someone from the spirit world?
Good morning, Terry. It could be tinnitus, you know. No, actually, no. I shouldn't say a blank. Yeah, I'm going to say no, Grey Eagles. Put his hand on my shoulders, I'm going to say no. No, Terry. But but if you pay attention and you listen, you know, if you're having trouble with your ears, I mean, there are lots of things. Sometimes you get that whistling sound in your ears, don't you? I think it's more to do with your eardrum and having issues with your eardrum than with the spirit world. If you're going to hear the spirit world, they'll come in gently. Usually they come in gently. Let's have another question.
So Albertine asks.
Good morning, Albertine.
I was in Greece on holiday and had a very good feeling there. Why are there countries that don't feel so good? So I guess one place versus another, why would one country feel wonderful and one country not as much?
It's true that there are certain countries, in fact, you step off the plane and the minute your feet touch the ground, I've had this experience myself, the minute your feet touch the ground, there's something just comes at you that is so, the energy is just so good. And that has a lot to do with, I mean, well, the Mediterranean is a wonderful place anyway. Greece is a fabulous place. I've been to quite a few of the Greek islands, and I've also been to mainland Greece a few times. And it is a wonderful place. And if you notice, and of course, you know, when you think of Greece and you're walking through, especially in the islands, you know, you've got these wonderful smells, gorgeous barbecue smells, people are happy, friendly, and all the rest of it. You've got the beaches and so on and so forth. Who wouldn't be happy? That doesn't mean that everybody on the Greek islands and everybody in that place is happy. That doesn't mean that nobody's sick. I mean, it's going on all around you. But at the same time, I have to say that when you're in warmer climates, especially, and especially when you're in warmer climates that are by the ocean and there are lovely beaches, it does seem as if we can handle things better, even, you know, the tougher things better. It does seem as if it encourages us to be more positive, I will say, because it does seem to have a better and most wonderful energy. But there are certain places, I think, you know, in any country around the world, there are certain places that you can go that have that feel. There are certain villages in England that just have that special feel. There's certain places in the south of England that I love to go. And it may well be that it's just simply something that suits my energy, that calls to me personally, that might not call to anybody else. Other people might not feel that same thing in the same places that I do, but they might feel it somewhere else. So, you know, it is true that sunshine and beaches and the ocean can make a huge difference. That's true. But also when you're up in the mountains, I'm thinking about where you are, Al. I mean, it's beautiful there. The energy's gorgeous. But you're up in the mountains and it's clean and it's not being polluted as much as, you know, some of the cities and so on. So it's all about energy. Let's have our next question.
Leo asks, and you've described him in the past, but do you mind describing Gray Eagle looks? And is it possible for Gray Eagle to visit him? He would like to have a conversation with him about.
You know, you're not the only one. Yeah. Well, yes. Now I do have a little portrait of. I actually have 3 or 4 around actually, because Gray Eagle was on this earth plane at the time when the, you know, the Native Americans and the invaders who came and took over the land, you know, they were in conflict, and there were a lot of peace talks and peace treaties and so on. There are several Gray Eagles actually. If you go and check it out, you'll find. I think there's a Comanche Gray Eagle. There's a few. You know, it's obviously, you know, it's it's a, I guess it's like the name Smith or Jones. I don't mean to offend him at all when I say that, but there, there are, you'll find there are other native chiefs and so on who are also Grey Eagle, but Grey Eagle is Apache, so that's a huge difference. And there were, when the Native Americans, they had this, I can't remember now, but it's a very famous treaty, and they were all invited to Washington, and they were invited to Washington to be part of the peace talks and so on and so forth. And Grey Eagle actually was there at that time, and there were certain sketch artists who took sketches, and in fact, I think photos, the early photos and so on as well. But so we do have some actual sketches of him, which have been, they're bona fide. Of course, in England, when I first met Grey Eagle, I didn't know anything about this. Didn't know anything much about the Native Americans. We used to watch Cowboys and Indians on the, at the movies, at the regular flea pit on a Saturday afternoon. We called it the flea pit. It was the old cinema that was close by our house. Anyway, I'm digressing here. So there are some pictures of him. However, when I see him, I don't see him quite as he's laughing at me. I don't see him quite the same. He is more handsome, he tells me to tell you all, and he's not a bit vain, I'm going to say, but he is much more handsome. His eyes really are the most startling feature, a really startling feature. And when he sort of looks at me and sort of really, gives me that look, it's such a knowing and such a kind and gentle look that he has. He does not wear a full-on headdress that I know. I should ask him if he ever has done. He wears 2 feathers which fall down behind, attached to his hair. His hair is sort of shoulder length, maybe a bit longer than shoulder length. And I'm told to tell you he's handsome. As for talking to him, that's between the two of you. I mean, I can't tell you. I can't say whether he would or would not. What would be the purpose? I'm not sure. And I think that would be his question. What would be the purpose? It would be more likely, I'm not saying it's impossible by any means, but it would be more likely that he might send one of his helpers, because like me, he has a whole team of people who work with him doing this work. So he might send one of his helpers, or you may be really fortunate at some point to have a conversation with him. I can't say. That's not for me to say. You can wish, you can pray, you can hope. Let's have another question.
We have a comment from IM.
I am. Okay, yeah. Where do these people find these wonderful names? But go on, I'm listening.
This person says, as kids, we sat around the kitchen table for hours drinking tea and listening to my mom's stories of her childhood in Australia. I found Americans don't sit down and have a visit.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, I shouldn't say that, because in England, of course, Australians and the Australians and the Brits we're very similar in many ways, I think. Of course, you've got so many Brits in Australia that we have that influence. We sort of spread ourselves all over the world there. And in England, people just, they drop in. Friends will, you'll be busy, or you'll be cooking, or whatever it is you're doing, or whatever it is. And a car will pull up, and you look out the window, oh, there's so-and-so, and go to the door. And nobody called you to say they were coming, but nobody needs to call. We turn up, we go visit, and then we do sit around the table much more. And I do find, and this is not every American, please don't misunderstand me, but on a general level, I think Americans are much more conservative. Now, the Brits are supposed to be the conservatives ones, but we're not actually. We're conservative about sharing our personal stuff. We're, you know, but we're not really conservative. We like to get around. We like to sit and have music. I mean, we had coffee mornings every Wednesday morning for years and years and years when I was when Samantha was a little girl. I mean, we get together and we natter, and you know, we drop in on each other. And my friends always dropped in on me on Sunday for tea, because they knew that Sunday was my baking day, and I used to make fresh bread. And there's nothing nicer than walking into a kitchen where somebody's just bringing out 2 or 3 loaves of fresh bread, and you know that any minute now you're going to get a nice big slice of that. So I used to make fresh bread and pastries and cream cakes and all that sort of thing. And so I would very often on a Sunday, we'd start off with having no visitors, and then we might have a whole table full of people, you know, 14, 15, even 16 people sometimes, sitting around the table eating this good food that I would make. So, and it would be fine. So I do know where you're coming from, because when I came to America, I really did miss that. And even now, you know, I have a really, really good friend who lives 2 blocks away from me. And she'll call me. She'll say, "Oh, you didn't answer your phone, so I didn't think you were in." And well, just come, just drop it. "Oh no, I won't do that. No, I won't do that." And I've known her now for quite a long time, and we're really good friends, but she won't drop in. It seems that Americans don't like to do that as much as we Brits do. And all of you Americans out there thinking, "Oh my God, they just drop in." You know, that's fine. I get it. I understand, because sometimes somebody dropping in is not always convenient. But what does it matter at the end of the day? What about you, Al? Do people, I know people drop in for your kids, but do people drop in, neighbors drop by and say, "I've come for a cup of tea"? Or when somebody drops by, in England, the first thing we say when somebody comes to our door is, "Oh, come in, do you want a cup of tea?" It's out there. Sometimes when you don't mean to say it, it's out there.
I think when I was younger, it happened a lot more. There's a comedian that does a great skit on it. You know, how we used to be in America, but I think over time, Americans have become very guarded, and it doesn't happen anymore. Out here, you know, where I am now, I think it's more like it was when I was younger, because people do drop in a little bit more often.
About the neighborhood thing, weren't we, yesterday?
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, that feeling of comfort where people just the kids kind of come over, the neighbors just kind of stop by. It's a little bit different where I am here versus back in New York. And it feels a little bit more like when I was a kid.
If, you know, I'm thinking if you get, you know, if I was in the garden, of course, I'm a friendly person anyway, but if I was in the garden and a neighbor walked by and said hi and we started chatting, at some point, if they want to chat, at some point, I'll say, "Do you want to come in for a cup of tea?" "Oh, well, I don't want to disturb you." "Oh, that's okay. Come on in." I mean, my daughter in Vermont, my home in Vermont, when I lived in Vermont, I'm not going to say every weekend, but at least every 3rd weekend, I mean, it was crowded, not just with her friends, but with my friends as well. Because, you know, she wouldn't bring a friend and the friend's girlfriend. She'd bring the friend's friend, their 2 girlfriends or boyfriends, the dogs, and then another friend would say, and sometimes we'd have 3 or 4 cars at a weekend driving up from New York, because there was a lot to do in Vermont. They could go swimming in the lake, or in the wintertime they could go skiing or what have you. But I mean, it's nothing for me to have sort of been walking over bodies. And I think you'll find that the Brits are very much like that. I hope they still are. You know, I hope, Al, it's not, as you just said, that it doesn't happen anymore. I think it does. I think it does happen. I think that's who we are. That's what we do. And Australians are very much the same way. Let's have another question.
Just as a comment, a couple of people asked me to ask questions that they have asked already. I dropped off a few times. So the question, I may not see the question. So if you want to retype the question, that would be great. And then we can get to that question as well.
Yeah, because we're having a little bit of trouble with the internet. And if we don't get to your question, don't think we're ignoring you, please. We just, you can only do so much in so much time. Do we have another question now?
Often we'll ask questions related to what you're talking about and then go back to the questions later on as well. It's not always in order, right?
No.
All right, so Angie asks, what's the difference between an animal totem versus animal spirit or animal spirit guide, or is there no difference?
Who is it, Angie, did you say?
Correct.
Good morning, Angie. Animal totems. Well, a totem is just it's a symbol, really, of an animal spirit, or what else did she say?
Animal totem, animal. Let me just go back. Animal spirit or animal spirit guide.
Right. Well, I don't know about the spirit guide thing, but animal totems, power symbols. A totem is a power symbol, and if the totem is the image or depiction of an animal or bird or what have you, whatever that is, that depicts what the power animal is of the person whose totem it actually is. It's sort of the same thing. It's just a confirmation that, and again, we're going to talk about this when we do our lessons, our online lessons, because power animals and power symbols are very, very important to us. Now, they don't give us power. If you have your own totem, for instance, or you have your own, some people collect pennies, some people collect feathers. My power symbol is a feather. So if I see an eagle feather, if I find an eagle feather and I bring it home, which I do have a couple because sometimes you find them in the woods if you're really lucky, but they don't actually give you power. They simply remind you of the power that you have within you. And so I think I might have told this story before, but I'll tell it again. On a couple of occasions more than a couple of occasions, when I've been on a TV show, and sometimes I would be, put in a dark booth, basically blindfold, earphones on, so I couldn't hear anything, couldn't see anything, because, something was going on in the audience out there that I was not meant to see or hear. People were telling stories out there that I was not meant to see or hear, for the camera, for TV and so on. And sometimes I would say to Grey Eagle, because I'm human, I hope I'm going to do well, because I'd feel that there'd be people out there who'd lost their children, for instance. So I did a show with Lisa Gibbons where there were murdered children, parents of murdered children. And so it's very important. I'm sitting there thinking, this is very important for me to do a really good job for these people. And I would often see this, or Grey Eagle would show me this eagle feather that would be about 10 feet tall. He'd sort of slam it in front of me, reminding me, not giving me power, reminding me of the power that I have within me. So a totem is a reminder of the power of whatever it is, that symbol which gives you power. My power animal is an eagle, and my power symbol is a feather. And when we do our online courses, we are going to help people to find their power animal and their power symbol, as I've done for many, many years with my students. Let's have another question now, shall we?
Charlotte has a comment. She says, "Hi, Rosemary. My living situation is in upheaval. Is my father watching over me during this huge transition? Feeling like it's falling apart." So she's having a really tough time, Charlotte.
Well, I don't usually do this. I do, don't I? Actually, I say that. I always do a bit of something. Charlotte, as you were talking, as I was repeating your question to me, Grey Eagle's hand is definitely on my shoulder, squeezing, and I'm right. So I am going to go with this. I can't tell you that the man that I'm seeing is your father. you might want to let us know. It could be, I don't know who it is, but I am seeing a man standing in the room here who passed very suddenly, very quickly. Now, I'm going to say out of the blue. However, if you were paying attention, it really wasn't nearly as out of the blue or as unexpected as it seemed to be at the time. Whoever this man is has connected with you, Charlotte, as Al is talking about you and relaying your question to me. I am going to go with the resounding, I think you already know the answer anyway, that your dad is with you, but I think you have quite a few people in the spirit world who are with you, darling. And this is the message that I'm getting for you quite clearly. You have to learn, you've got to learn to be your own person. Don't allow situations or other people to intimidate what it is that you want from your own self. I think you're so easily persuaded sometimes to do things that you perhaps don't want to do. And, you know, we're talking about power animals and power symbols. You could use one really, just to remind you that you do have the power to deal with this. And yes, it might be horrible right now, but it's going to get better. So I don't know if she wants to comment to that or not, but anyway, let's go ahead and carry on with this, shall we?
So we have another question from Irene.
Irene.
I did not come through for me before. Her husband passed away. Rosemary, my husband passed away in February from cancer. I cry all the time, and I'm wondering if I'll ever be happy again. I can't find a reason to get up in the morning. I am 64 years old.
Again, I do feel Gregor's hand on my shoulder, so I actually think, you know, a lot of people say they're desperate and they're not so much, or perhaps they don't understand what desperate is or something. But according to my guide, I think you are pretty desperate, darling. And as I'm listening to you, and you know that your husband is right with you, is actually not right with you quite now, he's right with me right at this minute in time. He tells me that the cancer was really, really horrible. We've already said it's cancer, I know. But I think from what he's telling me, he had it and then it seemed to, it's almost like he got over it. It seemed to get better. And then it came back with a vengeance. This is what he's saying to me. And you've got to get up. You got to get up. You've got to do. You've got to. So I'm going to give you a little job to do, because this is the problem with grief and grieving. And you're very early into this, darling. In the worst year, I'm sure you've heard everybody say this to you. The worst year is the worst, and I'm sure you've heard people say you're going to get over it. And I can tell you absolutely, without a doubt, that you're not going to ever get over this, because he's the love of your life. And you know, so you have to find ways to deal with the grief if you can. And it's hard, but I'm going to give you a little job. I'm going to suggest to you that you find a project. It might be going to the nearest children's hospital to read books or to volunteer for something. I know that you're already cringing and saying, no, I can't do it. It might be that you go to a hospice and talk to people and be a reader for hospice. But if you just would pick up the phone and understand that there are people out there who need you. It's not just your husband who needed you, and it's not just you who need your husband. There are other people who need you, because you have a wonderful heart, a glorious heart. And I think you could make a huge, huge difference. I'm asking you. You won't get over your husband, but your husband is desperate for you to try something. And I promise you, if you do this little job, and you volunteer for something, I promise you he's going to walk right by your side and he's going to help you do this. I promise you that. Absolutely, he will help you to help others. You have a great heart and you're not using it right now because it feels as if you're drowning in that grief. We're going to send you healing. We're going to send you healing on a daily basis. Please email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, and let me know how you're doing. And let me know what you volunteered for, because I'm very interested in your story. And of course, lots of love from him, you know. So you've got to, for his sake, you've got to smile every day. You know, when those in the spirit world, they come and they visit us and they see us so unhappy, it makes them unhappy. You've got a responsibility to make him happy, to at least try to smile every day, if you can, for me and for him. Al, another question do we have?
We have a couple comments. Charlotte actually just jumped up on me here. 1 second. Thank you, Rosemary. Jim was my father. It was expected. You're right. Thank you for comforting it. Thank you. Thank you.
Very welcome. And now use it. You know, it's no good. You know, people in the spirit world, they give their messages, but if we don't use it, if we don't allow those messages to strengthen us and be more determined with that strength, then we're wasting their time as well as my time as well. Grey Eagle's time. Yes. Next, you had another comment, did you say?
Linda actually had a question.
Linda.
Linda just wanted to know how they can get the book, the new book, I guess, that you showed.
Email us. Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. And I love this book, actually. It's a nice book. It's similar. Well, it's the same format as I've used for every other book. But there's some great stories in there, and I'm not saying anymore. So I'm so tempted to say more. Yes, email us, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. We'll tell you exactly how to get the book. I still have to remember, I have to read it through to make sure there are no more little detaily things. And I do need to change the cover slightly because you can't read the writing on the cover. It's too dark on the cover. So we do have to change that. But then it'll be ready. So email us. And if you want to know, any of you out there, if you want to know any more about me or the work that we do and so on, or about classes and so on, email Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Do you have any more quick questions or comments?
Yeah, Judith just wants to know how to sign up for the classes, which you spoke about in the beginning. Judith, correct? Yep. Good
morning, Judith. I wish I knew. That's what we're trying to figure out. Al, over to you, Al. You're the expert in this.
So as soon as, like you mentioned, as soon as we figure out how to have people sign up, right, then we'll be good.
Oh my gosh. I do have to tell everybody out there, right? I do have to tell you all, there is a company. Should I say the name of the company, Al?
Yeah, I don't think you should say the name of the company, but I think telling the story of what happened is
okay. So we were all set to use this company because what they do is they do it from beginning to end. They act as an office for you. So they take your name and they organize payments and they organize, you know, the behind the scenes stuff, and they make sure that the customer is getting what they need and so on and so forth. So we thought, and of course we have to pay a percentage, a fee for this service, which was fine. So we were all set to do it. We were absolutely all set to do it. And we were very excited. Here we go. Okay, just a click of the button. When we were told that they wouldn't accept me because I'm a psychic. And that was the end of that. And I did have someone try to persuade them, and they were absolutely adamant they wouldn't do it. So it's kind of like, you know, I've been blacklisted for what I do. We sent them all the books. We sent them videos. We sent them to YouTube. They could see that I was real. They could see that I'm not a crazy person, maybe just a little bit. But to no avail. They refused us. And so now we have to either do it ourselves, which we don't really have the ability to do that, or we have to find someone else. So if anybody out there knows of someone who does all this, the back stuff for us, you know, please let us know, because we're champing at the bit to get going, aren't we, Al?
We are. We definitely are. And a few people wrote in, can't believe that.
Yeah, exactly.
To
talk about discrimination.
Yes.
But my feeling is I could make a huge fuss about it, which is going to get me nowhere because it's going to, you know, they're going to deny me anyway. or you know, if I can take the attitude of, well, if they don't want us, we don't want them. So that's where I'm going. If they don't want us, we don't want them either. So, but yes, can you believe that? It's a large company that do all of this. And in fact, I will tell you this, they are Chase Bank's biggest what is it, competition in that area. Just, that's all I'm saying then. Right. Al, do we have another question? Finishing on a good note here.
There's a few people that just came in at the last minute. Just a reminder, this is that they can go back and watch this, right?
Yes.
A lot of people just came in. Kay
Don't
just
come in at 11, not 12. But we're glad you came in anyway.
What's that?
We're glad they came in anyway, even if they are a little bit late.
Yes.
Is there anything else? Did we have a comment back from that lovely lady who lost her husband? Anything else going on there?
2 people offered. Oh, wait, we do actually, Irene. A few people offered Irene support, and I feel bad for what she's going through. Irene said, "Thank you all so much, Rosemary." She did email you, so you can look for an email from her.
Brilliant.
All right.
We're just so happy. How nice of you all of you out there who just want to help and to help other people. How nice of you to join in like that. I can't see your comments when I'm doing this live, but I do go back and look at the comments, and I love to do that. And they're all pretty lovely, really, even the ones that aren't quite so lovely. At least people are bothering to make comments. So thank you all for joining us. It is now, we are late, running late, right, Al? Can you believe, did I talk too much or did we have too many questions? Perhaps a bit of both. We shall be here next week at the same time, 11 a.m. Every Thursday morning, 11 a.m. What is it, Eastern time? On the East Coast, anyway, of New York. So, so check your watches. It is now, here, my time, it is now 5 or 10 minutes past 12. So you've got to come an hour before. Thank you all for joining us. If you do need to let us know what's going on with you, or you feel the need to share your story, email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaLtea.com. If you need healing, again, Rosemary at rosemaryaLtea.com, or go on Facebook. There is a healing page on Facebook that you can put your name down and so on. Or if you just want to send us your email, we can do that for you. I'll keep you posted on the book. But so close now. Just when you think everything's okay, and then it's all of a sudden it isn't. But what else, Al? Anything else?
Nope. We had a few last minute questions, but I said to please email, and
if you email the questions beforehand, we'll often take email questions. And as I said, Carolyn isn't here today, but we'll take email questions sometimes as well. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter. You can find us where else? Messenger and all of that good stuff, Instagram and so on and so forth. You can find us actually, we're all over the place. We're everywhere. And of course, you can find us on YouTube. So check in next week with us. We are live every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time. That's New York City time. And until next week, until I see you again, please, I must tell you, I love that you all joined us. I love all of you who can't join in live, but who are then going to watch. I so appreciate your interest in my work, and I so appreciate those lovely comments that you all make. So thank you to all of you for that. And until I see you again next week, please have a very, 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 I'm looking for the little button there. There it is. Have a very blessed day.